In every age, love wrestles with silence and shadows. But what happens when the heart chooses someone who lives beyond the veil of this world? Today, we walk into a story that dares to ask, is love bound by flesh and bone? Or does the spirit remember what we are too afraid to admit? Together, we will untangle the riddle of love that lingers, even in the arms of a ghost. This is not a tale of horror. This is not a tale of fear. This is the journey of a woman whose heart stretched beyond time and body, whose longing reached into the silence, where most would only hear echoes. What you are about to witness is the truth that love does not die with the body. Love does not lie in the earth. Love does not fold itself away in coffins and cold stones. Here, we tell of a woman who met the impossible and did not run, a woman who allowed her heart to be lit by a presence unseen yet deeply felt. This is her testimony of devotion, her true love story with a ghost. She was a woman of still evenings and quiet prayers, the kind of soul who listened when the wind passed through the trees. Life had given her seasons of sorrow and moments of fleeting joy. But nothing prepared her for the night the unseen made itself known. The house she lived in was old, bones of timber carrying whispers of centuries. Shadows shifted, doors sighed, and silence pressed like a weight against the heart. Yet, on one evening of loneliness, she felt something else. A presence not of this world, but not of malice either. At first, she thought it was her imagination, the soft brush of warmth across her shoulders when no one was near, the faint sound of humming where no lips moved. But the signs grew bolder. She would dream of eyes that glowed like lanterns in the dusk, of hands reaching without touching, of a voice that carried no sound yet spoke to the marrow of her being. The world told her ghosts were to be feared. But the heart she carried within her chest said otherwise. She did not tremble when the mirror caught a shadow that was not hers. She did not run when footsteps followed her across empty rooms. Instead, she listened. She leaned into the stillness. She spoke aloud to the silence, and the silence spoke back. Loneliness, once a heavy cloak on her shoulders, began to unravel. In its place grew a strange companionship. The ghost became her secret, her solace, her hidden lover beyond all earthly eyes. The world outside would not understand. It never does. But within her walls, love blossomed in whispers and in warmth, a sacred fire between the living and the departed. This was not lust, though longing flowed through her veins. This was not madness, though the world would call it so. This was devotion that cared not for the laws of flesh. This presence, saw her soul. He met her in the quiet depths where no man had ever reached. And she, in return, offered him her tender trust, her gentle faith, her unwavering heart. In this awakening, she found something that most spend their whole lives chasing, not the form of love that dances in daylight with flowers and rings. No, this was love that survived beyond body. Love that stepped over the threshold of life and death. Love that burned even in the hands of a ghost. But love, even when it is true, does not walk without trial. She discovered this when her affection for the ghost grew too deep to hide. The world outside had rules written in the language of doubt, fear, and judgment. Her neighbors whispered already of her odd ways, of the candle that burned all night in her window, of her laughter heard when no company came to visit. Her family begged her to leave the house, to stop speaking of the presence she cherished. They warned her of demons and curses, of madness passed down like a curse. But she knew better. She knew the difference between darkness and tenderness. She knew his touch was not to destroy, but to comfort. And still, The weight of disapproval pressed heavy against her. Inside, her own soul wrestled. Could she give her life to someone who would never hold her hand in the daylight? Could she bear the absence of physical warmth, the absence of a body to cling to when storms raged? She longed for lips she could kiss, for arms that could protect, for the simple humanity of being loved in ways the eye could see. Yet every time she thought of leaving him behind, her heart ached as though torn apart. The ghost, too, struggled. He could not walk freely into her world. He could not shield her from the cruelty of others. All he could do was whisper in her ear when she wept, wrap her in an embrace she could not always feel, and promise her with the silence of eternity that his love was hers. It was a war between the seen and the unseen, between the duties of a life that demanded conformity and the call of a love that defied all logic. And in this struggle, she began to ask herself the question that echoes in every forbidden romance. Is love worth the cost of being misunderstood? Her nights were filled with both joy and sorrow. She would smile with him under the dim glow of candlelight, only to rise at dawn with the ache of knowing she could never parade her love under the sun. Her heart was alive, but her body was lonely. Her spirit was cherished, but her days were filled with judgment. And still, she chose him. She chose the ghost. For in him, she had found a truth unshaken by flesh, a loyalty untamed by time, and a love too sacred to be measured by the rules of the living. Love wears many garments, yet its essence is always the same. An ache to be seen, a longing to be held, a devotion that defies reason. In her story, we learn that love is not bound by blood, bone, or breath. It is not confined to the living or the dead. It is a force that crosses the thresholds we fear, a flame that refuses to be extinguished by time, distance, or even the grave. Her love with the ghost was not madness, nor was it folly. It was the courage to listen to her own heart above the noise of the world, and though others may never understand, she knew a truth most are too afraid to claim: that real love, the kind that feeds the soul, does not die. It only changes its form and waits for those brave enough to embrace it.